director of the Mahaney Arts Center, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to Robinson Hall for United for Ukraine. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to offer a special welcome to all of our in-person audience tonight, and to those folks who are watching on the stream, hello to you too. We're grateful to the performers, the organizers, and most of all to Masha Mokotonina, who came to us with this brilliant idea only a little over a month ago. She told me, she wanted this night to dignify and validate the culture of her country. Since then, she has really put her heart and soul into the event, and I think you'll see why. She's joined by a great cast of students, faculty, community members, so many people, guest artists, so many people who are here coming together for a wonderful cause. Some housekeeping notes for those of you here in Robinson Hall. The emergency exits are located on either side of the stage and in the back where you came in. Also, please take a moment now to silence your cell phone. Even if you think you've done so already, it's a good time to check again. A reminder, you can follow along with your phone, your silenced phone, with our digital program at go/United4Ukraine, or if you're off campus, go.middlebury.edu/United4Ukraine. That's where you'll find extra information about tonight's performers and the works that they're performing, and links to several relief organizations suggested to us by our Ukrainian students. I hope you'll consider donating if you are able. Enjoy the performance, and thank you for supporting the arts at Middlebury.
Good evening. Good evening. This is the Middlebury College Choir, and as they take their places, I will tell you a little bit about what we are going to sing. You can find, by using the QR code in the program, going to our Notion online program page, you can find a translation for these songs tonight, but you can also just sit and listen. This song is about a young girl who is sewing a shirt for her beloved Cossack who is going to leave, and she tells him, wear it every day and think of me. And in the middle of the piece, you'll hear a tiki-tiki-da, tiki-tiki-da, which I believe is the spinning wheel. So I'm guessing that she not only embroidered, but also spun the cloth. That's the intro.
Oj, wesna, wesna, da wesnianoczna. Good evening. I'm Andriana. I am a sophomore at Middlebury College, and I'm happy and honored to serve as MC for this evening. I was born and raised in the small town of Zalishchike, Ukraine. So our goal for the evening is to share and to dignify the culture of Ukraine. Tonight's performers are Middlebury College students, faculty, and staff, and special guest artists. They have all come together with you in the spirit of love and support to share this evening. Thank you for being here. And now I'd like to present Diana Harassim, a sophomore at Middlebury Union High School and an exchange student from the city of Harassim, which is currently occupied by the Russian forces. Please welcome her.
Everybody, I am glad to be here speaking to you tonight on this stage, sharing a little bit of my culture and the story of my culture. I want to thank the organizers of this event for giving the opportunity for all of us to face again the beautiful essence of Ukraine. And thank all of you who decided to dedicate some time today to know more about my homeland and to express your support. I am Diana Harassim, and I am a 15-year-old exchange student from Ukraine in Middlebury Union High School. In 2 months, I was supposed to fly back home to see my family, to meet with my friends, to graduate from my school, and to become the boxing champion of Ukraine of 2022. Well, plans changed, and not for me only, but for the whole nation of Ukraine. Right now, the main goal for some people is to help, for others to survive. And it happened that my family and my friends are in the second category, as are families and friends of most Ukrainian students here in the US. They are trying to survive, leaving their homes, or staying there under the sounds of sirens, bombs explosions, shootings. They are reasonably scared to go outside, or just stay in the basements. They are doing that to survive, not to leave us alone. Those words are scary for me. And sometimes I think, isn't it too much? Isn't it too much to tell people? But you know, this is too much. What's going on is too much. But this too much is real. For some people, maybe they are tired of the war and the daily terrible news, and it makes them too sad or unproductive and doesn't let them do what they need to do. So it's an easy way to stop following and to ignore. And I understand that. But for me personally, and for most Ukrainians I know, there is not an option to ignore. There is not an option to ignore when people are suffering and when there is a way to help. It is a realization that those news, those photos, and those words in the internet are real people. It could be a close friend of ours shot in the head with his hands tied behind his back in Bucha. It could be me, raped many times by Russian soldiers. There is not an option to ignore. When I just came to the US 8 months ago, I came here as a representative of my country. And I've been always glad to share a little bit of my culture with those who knew where I'm from. But it turned out that after February 24th, the whole world has already been focused on Ukraine. Right now, for many people, Ukraine is associated with death, horrors, and war. But also, bravery, dignity, and fighting for freedom. And I want to encourage all of you to dig a little bit deeper. Ukraine is not just the war. And let me share with you a little bit of my associations with Ukraine and Ukrainian culture. First of all, as I have told before, and I'm repeating now, for me, my culture is my people. That's what always represents the country. And you can make your own conclusions about my homeland based on how its citizens face the situation. Secondly, for me personally, is sports. As some of you already know, I am obsessed with boxing, which is such a challenging kind of sport which makes you literally overcome yourself over and over again. And Ukraine is the country that has provided so many successful boxers that became well-known heroes in the world. Klitschko brothers, Alexander Usyk, Vasil Lomachenko, and others. Well, I can talk about this forever, so if you would like to know more about this or any of what I'm talking today, I'm encouraging you to reach out to me anytime, and I'll be glad to provide you with the information I possess. What is often associated with Ukraine is, and culture in general, is of course music. Without any exaggeration, I genuinely admire the style of Ukrainian music. If you have never listened to it, which I really doubt, just do it. You could look up some either traditional or modern songs of Ukrainian and dive into the charming melody. My homeland is also known for literature, arts, and poems. The following is a passage of the classic poem Contra spem spero, which in English means I hopelessly hope, by Леся Українка. Гетьте, думи, ви хмари осінні, тож тепер весна золота. Чи то так у жалю в голосінні проминуть молоді літа? Ні, я хочу крізь сльози сміятись, серед лиха співати пісні. Без надії так і сподіватись. Жити хочу, геть, думи сумні. Я на убогім, сумнім перелозі буду сіять барвисті квітки. Буду сіять квітки на морозі, буду лить на них сльози гіркі. І від сліз тих гарячих розтане та кора льодовая міцна. Може, квіти зійдуть і настане ще й для мене весела весна. And in English it means, away, dark thoughts, ye autumn clouds, a golden spring is here. Shall it be thus in sorrow and lamentation that my youthful years pass away? No, through all my tears I shall still love, sing songs despite my troubles, have hope despite all odds. I want to live away your sorrowful thoughts. On this poor, indigent ground, I shall sow flowers of flowering colors. I shall sow flowers even amidst the roast, and water them with my bitter tears. And from those burning tears will melt the frozen crust, so hard and strong. Perhaps the flowers will bloom and bring for me a joyous spring. For me, this poem represents the state of Ukrainians right now a lot. And you know, I believe that the joyous spring will eventually come to Ukraine, where people can hear the beautiful sounds of birds, not shootings and explosions, and be happy together with their families on their own land, living a peaceful life. And you are the ones who can help us reach that I want to thank you for any support you provide. It is significant. I hope you realize that right now it is in your power to save a life by preventing people from starving to death or providing them essential medical supplies. And I am enormously grateful to all of you, to those who have cared and who are contributing to saving my nation. Thank you. Дякую. To invite all of you to join me for the moment of silence for the people of Ukraine, for those who are suffering, for those who need help. Thank you.
As College Community Chorus takes the stage, I wanted to say a couple of things about the pieces we will sing. The first is church music. It wouldn't traditionally take place in a venue like this, it would take place in an Orthodox church. The composer, Dmitry Voynyansky, is one of a lineage of Ukrainian composers, some of whom who worked in parts of the world that are now Russia, but many of whom chose Ukrainian poetry, Ukrainian text, or librettos in the case of opera, in Ukrainian language for their music. Whether they were composing church music primarily, church and symphonic music, chamber music, there are composers who specifically chose Ukrainian language texts, which speaks to some of what you've heard this evening already, but also the notion that there is a Ukrainian art and cultural identity that is its own. And we celebrate that with Bortnyansky's church music, and then with Oi Tam Zale Socha. We're joined by a few more singers because, somewhat conveniently, these two choruses are singing the same piece this spring. These two choruses that both of which I happen to conduct. So here we come. This is Oj tam zali sochkum, and it is snow falling in the woods, and it is about another story about a young girl and a Cossack, curiously enough. In this story, you will, in this song, the couple are victim of gossip. People saying things about them that are not true. And there's a climactic phrase when we sing, "But I will not listen to those gossips." And Masha explained, as we were doing diction coaching on this with College Choir, that it's not only that I'm not going to pay attention to the gossips. It's an idea of defiance. That in fact I am going to persevere despite that. And then in the piece, you'll hear the music soften, and so you'll hear the gentility of the couple's relationship persevere through that gossiping, etc. Thank you.
The Revolution of Dignity, also known as the Maidan Revolution, took place in Ukraine in February 2014 in the wave of large-scale protests known as Euromaidan, which erupted in response to Viktor Yanukovych's sudden decision to not sign a political association agreement with the European Union, instead choosing closer ties to Russia. The clashes in Kiev between the protesters and the special riot police resulted in the deaths of 108 protesters and 13 police officers, and the wounding of many others. This 100 is now known as Nebesna Sotnya, or the Heaven's 100 Heroes. I'd like to present our special guests, Taran Kuzma and Stefan Zayat, with the piece in the memory of the victims of Maidan. Now I would like to present Masha Makutonina from the beautiful, my personal favorite city of Odessa. Please be aware that there is some adult content and the sound of sirens in this piece.
First day of war. I woke up from the sound of explosions. It's difficult to type this because my hands are shaking. I haven't slept for 30 hours. This is my bed for tonight. I'm getting used to the sound of explosions. Had good 7 hours of sleep, collected resources for Molotovs and medical aid and delivered it to the Territorial Defense Unit, transferred a plant into a bigger pot, downloaded a book a friend sent me. For the first time in the past 4 days, I've eaten chocolate, had a casual conversation on the phone about cats and books, had a Zoom call where I heard such words as timeline and scope, as if from a parallel universe. The last thing that I read before going to bed was a post from a friend. She wrote, "I'm in a hospital now. It's crowded with people, bodies, pieces of humans, pieces of families. There is an inconsolable woman who just lost her husband and both children. My father had a heart attack. Another friend witnessed an act of killing from Irpin while evacuating. She said, suddenly they all went up into the air, the entire family, all 4 of them. They went up high as the church. And then they fell down. I kept reading messages from friends, neighbors, their friends, their yoga instructor killed, their fellow volunteers delivering aid to people who could not flee, killed, a friend, Irina, a medic, killed. I keep thinking about all of them and I cannot sleep. They were all in their 20s or 30s. They all had lives. Today I go to get flowers. It's March 8th. Flower kiosks are still open. I prefer tulips. But tulips are cash only. Cash is scarce these days. The ATMs don't work anywhere and cards do. So I go to the supermarket where I find hyacinths. Women's sanitary products are out of stock everywhere. It's been quiet for a couple of days. No sirens. No panic. Did I consider leaving? Yes, I did. But I'm more interested in how the nature of these considerations has changed over the course of the time. I mean, a couple of days ago, I was in full panic. I was afraid of violence and isolation, given the evidence that there is no crime that Russians cannot do. I recalled my friends who are detained, kept in basements, tortured in Donbass for months for their articulate political position. My fear was physical and very real. So yeah, I was thinking about evacuating. And then I was thinking about my family, whom I didn't want to leave behind. And then I cursed Russians for putting me in this position in the first place, for choosing between staying endangered with my family or becoming a refugee. And then I gave myself one more day to think about it. And then one more. And then one more. Mid-March. Stray cats are in the middle of their mating season. When I go outside around midnight, I hear their laments all around. What a joy to see them go about their business against all odds. I want this soundscape to prevail, not the one that starts at 2 a.m. with the first siren. Here we say a bare wire for a conductor without isolation. You touch the high voltage and it hits you back hard. I feel like a bare wire these days. I transmit everything I witness. The unspeakable comes through me. But as much as I am bare for pain, I am equally bare for love. It's been quiet for a couple of days. No sirens. And sunny. I received a bouquet of flowers from friends. Tulips. I received some good wine from S. My dad baked a cake, a Napoleon. So we gathered around the table. I mean, it's been years since we celebrated our birthdays in the same place. Me, Dad, my mom. The dinner was interrupted around 6:30 by a siren. We all went outside quietly. I kept the good spirit, I pretended that the sound was celebratory, somehow. Suddenly my dad felt really guilty about our little event. He started chanting about people who are starving, people who are killed, people who lost everything. And for the first time, he was crying. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and she said she was thinking about Mariupol. You know, I am just thinking about Mariupol. And it's not something specific. I am just thinking about Mariupol. And it's not articulated words or completed sentences. I've been in the same place for a while now. I read all the testimonies of people who escaped and also texts from people who are still in the occupied towns. Accounts of people who lost their family. Accounts of women being raped. And after a while, I also found myself sitting in the same spot, looking in front of me. Just thinking. I've been up all night. At dawn, the explosions hit our area. Flames and huge clouds of gray smoke going up into the sky. I look at this disastrous landscape from my window. Dogs barking, birds singing. Once again, I feel suspended. My jaws cramp. And I am not even terrified.
Misha Poklad, a Middlebury senior student from Irpin Cave, created this video project as a part of the course Data Across the Disciplines. Using qualitative methods of data research, he compiled an experimental visualization depicting bits of Ukrainian films. Each shot is sorted according to the notion it represents and appears proportionally to the topic's relevance in Ukrainian film history. Misha hopes that the video sparks your interest in Ukrainian cinema, so rich and so totally unique.
Yusakov, but really I'm here as part of Last Train to Zinkov. It's a duet with my son Nate, who couldn't make it tonight. Zinkov is the shtetl town of Dunyevice, about 100 miles south of Kyiv, where my father and my grandfather are from. I'm going to play you some fiddle tunes that they might have listened to back in those days. The first one is a Scotchny, which is kind of a klezmer dance tune on steroids. This next song is a song that came to me about 50 years ago. I've hardly had many chances to play it really, but tonight feels like a very appropriate one. Let's play it for you. upbeat. This is a song that was often played at weddings. Congratulations to the bride and groom. Chosen Kali Mazel Tov. Hosen Kali Mazel Tov, ay 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 Hosen Kali Mazel Tov, ay 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 Hosen Kali Mazel Tov.
a junior FEP, and the theater major who will recite a poem by Lubo Yakimchuk, a Ukrainian poet, screenwriter, and journalist who was born in the region of Luhansk, Ukraine. Crow Wheels.
When the city was destroyed, they started fighting over the cemetery. It was right before Easter. Wooden crosses laid out over freshly dug graves put out their paper blossoms. Red, blue, yellow, neon green, orange, raspberry pink. Joyous relatives poured out vodka for themselves and poured their relatives straight out onto their graves. And the dead asked for more and more and more, and the relatives kept pouring. The celebration carried on. But eventually, a young man tripped over a stretcher. At the grave of his mother-in-law, an old man gazed up into the sky and lost it forever. A fat man smashed a shot glass, destroying the fence around his wife's grave. Glass fell at his feet like hail. Easter came, and now a crow sits on the grave of Anna Andreevna Radvianova. Instead of headstones, BTR 80 wheels rest at the cemetery nest of the Kalinsky family, where lie buried Marina Viktorievna, Filip Vasilovich, and Mikola Filipovich. What are they to me, those wheels and that crow? I can no longer remember.
Short movement piece by Masha Makudanyadu.
Давай виключим світло і будемо мовчати про то, що не можна словами сказати, не можна писати, неможливо зіграти, а тільки мовчати, тихенько мовчати. Давай мовчати про то, що дівчати не вміють сховати, не можуть спати. Давай про мене і про тебе мовчати, мовчати, аж поки не захочем кричати. Як довго ж ти навчилась мовчати про то, що ніколи не змогла би збрехати, про то, що ніколи мені не спитатись. Ми будем з тобою у ліжку лежати, лежати, як сніг, водою стікати. Ми будемо свої сльози ковтати, а з ними слова, яких не сказати. Про що помовчати, а ми ще маємо про що полежати, як світло проб'ється через наші штори. Ми знову з тобою, як всі заговоримо, а поки ще темно є в нашій кімнаті. Давай з тобою будем просто мовчати, мовчати, мовчати.
The next few pieces require a slight stage modification. So I'm going to take the opportunity to tell you about the pieces. I love talking about the music that I'm about to perform. Especially this music. We're singing two songs for you, and there's a story behind both. Unfortunately, I have a couple of minutes to tell it. The story of Bergi. It is a Romani song. It's done, I learned it as part of the repertoire of gypsy choirs. And in reference there, gypsy is not derogatory, it's part of the identity. It's an interesting notion that through the Soviet era, Gypsy choirs actually found a place in public theater. Maybe if you've heard of this before, you've heard of the Cygansky Theater Romani in Moscow. There is a gypsy choir theater in Kharkiv and in Kiev. I visited both as part of research that I did as a doctoral student in the music of these ensembles. Caio Bergi reads, "Where are the mountains? Where's the forest? The memory burns in my heart." And then the cold blizzards of winter have come. The memory freezes my heart. Friends of mine in Kiev now, with whom I've been texting today, helped with translating this music for me. It's a very special song for me personally. I have recordings of me singing it with friends, and of course recordings of gypsy choirs singing it. We will follow that piece with one that is by a composer, Ludmila Vishnevetsky, and she is in Kharkiv, to my most recent knowledge, and her daughter shared this piece by text with me saying, "Would you want to perform this piece?" This is 2-3 weeks ago, and I thought, well, in fact, I would. So here is Caio Bergi, and of course, Nadia Vera Ilipov. And we are most grateful to be joined by Maestro David Guzikov for Caio Bergi.
Oh, My name is Gregory Marcinek. I am Ukrainian. I will be playing Chopin's Revolutionary Etude. I felt this piece is a very good piece, even though it's not a Ukrainian piece. Chopin wrote it in response to Russian aggression in Poland and his how his emotions responded to this. So I hope you enjoy.
to me. Can't you see? Everything I hope for, everything I need. You are so beautiful, to me. Such joy and happiness. You bring such joy and happiness. You bring like a dream. You guiding light that shines in the night. Heaven's good to me. You are so beautiful, to me. You are so beautiful, to me. You are so very, very beautiful. To me.
Good evening. Okay, anyways, good evening, everyone. Today I'll be reading a poem by the most famous Ukrainian writer and poet and artist, Taras Shevchenko. Here's his face, if some of you are close. Taras Shevchenko was born in the 19th century, so about 200 years ago. And he wrote beautiful poems about Ukraine, about people's struggles in Ukraine. And I find that the poem that I'll be reading today is repeating itself in a way. It's really reminiscent. The content of that poem is really close to me, and I hope you enjoy. The poem is called "To My Fellow Countrymen, Ukrainians, in Ukraine, abroad, dead, alive, or yet unborn." Oh yeah, you can see the translation of the poem behind me. For the people who are online, the translation of the poem is on Notion. Yeah. І смеркає, і світає, день Божий минає, і знову люд потомлений, і все спочиває. Тільки я, мов окаянний, і день, і ніч плачу на розпуттях велелюдних, і ніхто не бачить, і не знає, оглухли, не чують, кайданами міняються, правдою торгують, і Господа зневажають, людей запрягають в тяжкі ярма, орють лихо, лихом засівають, а що вродить, побачите, які будуть жнива, схаменіться, недолюди, діти йородиві, подивіться на рай тихий, на свою країну, полюбіте щирим серцем велику руїну, Розкуйтеся, братайтеся, у чужому краю не шукайте, не питайте того, що немає, і на небі, а не тільки на чужому полі. В своїй хаті своя і правда, і сила, і воля, нема на світі України, немає другого Дніпра, а ви претеся на чужину шукати доброго добра, добра святого, волі, братерства братнього. Несли з чужого поля і в Україну принесли великих слов, велику силу, та й більш нічого. Кричите, що Бог создав вас не на те, щоб ви неправді поклонились, і хилитесь, як і хилились, і знову шкуру дерете з братів незрящих, гречкосіїв, і сонця правди дозрівать, в німецькій землі, не чужій претеся знову. Якби взять і всю мізерію з собою, дідами крадене добро, тоді ось ставсь би сиротою, святими горами Дніпро. Ох, якби те сталось, щоб ви не вертались, щоб там і здихали, де ви поросли, не плакали б діти, мати б не ридала, не чули б у Бога вашої хули, і сонце не гріло б смердячого гною на чистій, широкій, на вольній землі. І люди б не знали, що ви за орли, і не покивали б на вас головою. Схаменіться, будьте люди, бо лихо вам буде. Розкуються незабаром заковані люди, настане суд, заговорять і Дніпро, і гори, і потече сторіками кров у синіє море, дітей ваших, і не буде кому помагати. Оцурається брат брата, і дитини мати, і дим хмарою запустить, сонце перед вами, і навіки проклянетесь своїми синами. Умийтеся, образ Божий, багном не скверніте, не дуріте дітей ваших, що вони на світі, на те тільки що панувать, бо невчене око загляне їм в саму душу, глибоко, дознаються небожата, чия на вас шкура, та й засядуть, і при мудрих немудрі удурять. Якби ви вчились так, як треба, то й мудрость була би своя, а то залізете на небо, і ми не ми, і я не я, і все те бачив, і все те знаю, нема ні пекла, ані раю, нема й Бога, тільки я, таку цей німець узловатий, а більш нікого. Добре, брате, що ж ти такеє? Нехай скаже німець, ми не знаєм. Отак-то ви навчаєтесь у чужому краю. Німець скаже, ви моголи, золотого Тамерлана, золочата голі. Німець скаже, ви слав'яни, славних прадедів великих, правнуки погані. І Колара читаєте з усієї сили, і Шафарика, і Ганка, і слав'янофіли, так і претесь, і всі мови слав'янського люду, всі знаєте. А своєї дасьбі колись будем і по-своєму глаголать, як німець покаже, до того історію нашу нам розкаже. Ото йді ми заходимось. Добре заходились по німецькому показу і заговорили так, що й німець не второпа, учитель великий, а не те, що прості люди, а гвалту, а крику, ні гармонія і сила, музика та й годі, а історія, поема вольного народа, що ті римляні убоги, чорт зна що, не брути, у нас брути, коклеси, славні, незабуті, у нас воля виростала, Дніпром умивалась, у голови в гори слала, степом укривалась, кров'ю вона омивалась, а спала на купах, на козацьких, вольних трупах, окрадених трупах. Подивіться лишень добре, прочитайте знову тою славу, та читайте від слова до слова, не минайте ані титли, ні житії коми, все розберіть та й спитайте тоді себе, що ми? Чиї сини? Чиїх батьків? Ким? За що закуті? То й побачите, що ваші славні брути, раби, подножки, грязь Москви, варшавські сміття ваші пани, ясновельможні і гетьмани, чого ж чванитеся ви, сини сердечної України, що добре ходите в ярмі, що лучі, як батьки ходили. Не чваньтесь, з вас даруть ремінь, а з їх бували, й лій топили. Може, чваньтесь, що братство віру заступило, що синопом, трапезонтом галушки варило. Правда, наїдались, а вам тепер вадить, і на січі мудрий німець картопельку садить, а ви її купуєте, їсте на здоров'я та славите Запорожжя. А чиєю кров'ю ота земля напоєна, що картопля родить, вам байдуже, аби добра була для городу, а чваните, що ми Польщу колись завалили. Правда ваша, Польща впала, та й вас роздавила. Так от якою кров'ю злили батьки на Москву і Варшаву, і вам, синам, передали свої кайдани, свою славу. Доборолась Україна. до самого краю. Гірше ляха, свої діти її розпинають. Замість пива праведною крові з ребер точать. Просвітити, кажуть, хочуть. Материні очі современними огнями. Повести за віком, за німцями недоріку, сліпую каліку. Добре, ведіть, показуйте. Нехай старая мати навчається, як дітей тих нових доглядати. Показуйте, за науку не турбуйтесь, буде материна добра плата. Розпадеться луда на очах ваших неситих. Побачте славу, живу славу дітів своїх і батьків лукавих. Не дурійте самі себе, учітесь, читайтесь і чужому научайтесь, і свого не цурайтесь. Бо хто матір забуває, того Бог карає, того діти цураються, в хату не пускають. Чужі люди проганяють, і немає злому на всій землі безконечній веселого дому. Я ридаю, як згадаю, діла не забуті, дідів наших, тяжкі діла. Якби їх забути, я удав би веселого віку половину. Отака то наша слава, слава України. Отак і ви прочитайте, щоб не сонним снились, всі неправди, щоб розкрились, високі могили перед вашими очима, щоб ви розпитали мучеників, кого, коли, за що розпинали. Обніміте ж, брати мої, найменшого брата. Нехай мати усміхнеться, наплакана мати. Благословить дітей своїх твердими руками. І діточок поцілує вольними устами. І забудеться срамотня, давня година, і оживе добра слава. Слава України! І світ ясний невечірній тихо засіяє. Обніміться ж, брати мої. Молю вас, благаю. Thank you. The previous video was really close to me since not being physically in Ukraine right now, where I lived my entire life prior to coming here in September of last year. It feels really hard, and I feel fortunate and privileged to be here, and I thank you for coming here, for staying here, and for supporting Ukraine in every way you can. The next piece will be played on Bandura, which is one of the national instruments of Ukraine, the one that Taras Shevchenko wrote about in a lot of his poems.
Ukrainian culture and its beautiful music and dance and poetry. We thought that we would end this concert, and we are so thankful to Jeffrey for inviting us to come up from Boston and New York to play for you all tonight. So we were going to end this concert with a song that's a little bit more hopeful. The previous song that you just heard, Echo of the Steppes, is by a refugee, Harassim. For those who were at the pre-concert lecture, he was the director of the Ukrainian Bandura's chorus during the time of their tenure during World War II and then their emigration to the United States in the 1940s. So this next piece is by one of his prodigies, who is in Detroit, Michigan, Nick Dejikowski. He arranged this piece and translated it. It means, some people call it Bandura, dueling Banduras, but I don't think this is quite appropriate. So here is Bandura Conversations.
now. A very famous, loved by all and much anticipated, and the final act of the show tonight, the traditional Ukrainian dance, hopak. Thank you so much, everyone, for being such an amazing audience and for spending some time with us here tonight to engage with Ukrainian culture. As you can see, there are links to donations on the back of your programs. You can just scan the QR codes with your phone cameras, and it's going to take you straight to the donation link. Keep fighting with us. Thank you.
Каменю котитись, а ще тяжче важче.